Welcome back to episode 3 of Know Your Rights. All right, disclaimer. This episode might step on some toes. You might want to go and do some more Actually, no. I encourage you to look this term up and really just digest it, okay? So the term today we're going to talk about is least restrictive environment. Now, I want to give you like a 30-second history. So back in the day, kids who needed special education services were like locked away or went to another school. It's not like that now, okay? There are different types of classrooms and different environments, but we're going to get into that. So let's define the term. Least restrictive environment is the term used to describe the right for a child with a disability to remain with his or her peers without disabilities to the maximum extent appropriate for his or her education. So let me break that down. Basically, if your child has a disability, they have a right to be with their peers that don't have disabilities. So what we would call a general education classroom, right? So let me break this down. There are different types of placements within the special education realm, okay? Let's talk about it a little bit. So obviously you have where the kid is in general education and they get pulled out, right? That's mostly for speech and language therapy or occupational therapy or physical therapy where they need that service. We pull them out of class, see them for that service, and take them back. Another placement can be inclusion. Inclusion means that instead of the special education teacher pulling them out to give them services for reading or math or whatever their deficit is, they are in the classroom. We call that also push-in services. They're in the classroom and they are rendering their services in the classroom. And sometimes inclusion can also include a paraprofessional being in the classroom to assist your child as well. Just depends. Now, another type of placement is called Kotot, meaning there are two teachers in the room. You have the special education teacher, you have the classroom teacher, and the special education teacher are teaching all the kids that are on her caseload, and then the general ed teacher will be teaching all the other gen ed kids. But sometimes what they do, they might cross teach or do a lesson together. There's so many different models for Kotot. Okay. And then also you have the special education classroom. So you might have a classroom for kids with behavior. You might have a classroom with kids that have a low IQ, right? You might have a classroom just for kids with autism. That is very prevalent here in the state of Georgia. A lot of our big counties have classrooms just for kids that have autism. Okay. So I say all that to say, when you're at the IEP meeting, especially at the initial IEP meeting, once they go through the testing, once they go through the goals, then as a team, what did I say before? You are part of the team. As the team, they will decide, okay, which placement will best fit your child and their needs. Now, again, in your parental rights, it tells you that you have a right to have your child educated with non-disabled children to the maximum extent appropriate, meaning, okay, if your child has a low IQ, if they have some medical challenges, the maximum extent might just be they go to specials like art and gym and music with their peers that don't have disabilities. That might be their maximum, right? But what they won't tell you, and yes, I'm gonna let the cat out the bag. Let's say I'll use a child with autism. Let's say your child has autism, or let's say your child has a learning disability, specific learning disability, and they got diagnosed at a young age, and now we're like in middle school, and you are tracking your child's progress, their grades, and you're seeing, they're doing really good in math. I don't think that it's appropriate for them to be in the special ed classroom for math anymore. I think they will be okay in an inclusion classroom for math, or in a classroom that has a paraprofessional, or they might just be great all by themselves, right? Without any supports. You can say that. That's why an IEP is called an individualized education plan. You can make the plan however you want the plan to be. It can change. That's why you have an IEP every year. But this is why it's so important for you to understand the concept of least restrictive environment, because this is what the team uses to decide which placement, which classroom will best fit your child. Okay? So go out there and you better research that least restrictive environment so that you can be knowledgeable, but also use this term appropriately when you are advocating for your child.